Discover how a black boy's last $15 led to an incredible transformation thanks to 100 bikers. Jamal Harris felt the weight of the world on his thin shoulders as he walked through the dusty streets of his small town, the summer sun beating down fiercely. It was the day his father would have turned 42, and the ache in his chest was sharper than ever. With his father gone, the typical laughter and joy of summer had been replaced with a grim reminder of their struggles. Jamal gripped the last $15 in his pocket, earned from odd jobs that barely scratched the surface of their obligations. His mother hustled through long hours, but the shadows in her eyes revealed their grief and exhaustion. He arrived at the market to help his mother, a wave of shame crashing over him as he glimpsed the products overpriced for families just trying to survive. What was he doing here? He was just a boy. Yet, as he set up his small makeshift lemonade stand nearby, he wrestled with his diminishing dreams. Just a few days before, his art teacher had shared heartbreaking news about their program running out of funds. How could he help? Before he could spiral further into self-doubt, a loud rumble captured his attention. A pack of rugged bikers roared into town, their leather jackets glistening in the sun, the thunderous sound of their engines echoing through the streets. Jamal watched in awe as they formed a circle at the market. His heart raced, excitement bubbling inside him, and in that moment, something stirred, a flicker of hope. "Hey, you selling lemonade?" one of the bikers called to him, a toothy grin breaking through their intimidating facade. Jamal nodded, heart hammering as the group approached. He squeezed his last $15 in his palm, feeling a surge of determination. "Don't just stand there, kid. Serve us up," another biker laughed, handing him a crumpled bill. I'm actually trying to raise money for my school's art program," Jamal confessed, a rush of vulnerability cascading over him. They listened. These rough-edged strangers were surprisingly encouraging, sharing their stories of resilience and ambition. But as the bikers left, Jamal's joy dimmed under the weight of skepticism from his classmates. They loomed in the background, laughing, sneering. "You really think you can help a dying art program?" they mocked, causing tears to prick at the corners of his eyes. After all he'd seen, he couldn't afford to let their doubt fester. Panic gripped him. What if he got their hopes up only to watch them crash? "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from."
I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jamal squared his shoulders, determined not to let their hostility sink his dreams. Yet, as days passed, the sabotage began. Dirt poured into his lemonade, taunts echoed in his ears. The laughter cut deeper than he wanted to admit. The thought of failure made his stomach churn. Wrestling with the pressure, he felt hollow. Could his tenacity compete against years of prejudice? Could he turn his last $15 into something greater than he ever imagined? With an upcoming competition looming like a storm cloud, Jamal squeezed the life out of his worries, each heartbeat pushing him onward. He needed allies. His thoughts raced back to the bikers, their stories steering him closer to courage he'd never felt before. But just as hope began to surge, whispers of doubt crept back, reminding him of his failures. Would he be able to fight back against not only his rivals, but against the relentless whispers of his own insecurities? Jamal stood now, a young boy determined to grasp at possibilities that felt just out of reach. The threshold beckoned him forward. One choice could either sink him or lift him sky high. As he prepared for the monumental competition, he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't do this alone anymore. And just like that, he was at the edge of change, a heart full of conviction, waiting for the world to respond. Jamal woke up early the next morning, the anxious thoughts from the previous day dissipating slowly like morning mist. He needed a plan. His lemonade stand had faced challenges, and the taunts of his classmates echoed like a ringing bell in his mind. This wasn't just about lemonade anymore. It was about standing up for something he cared about. He rummaged through his belongings, looking for inspiration. A half-finished sketch lay crumpled in the corner of his room, a vision of a vibrant mural covering the dull gray wall of his school. Art was his passion, and his only way to truly communicate his emotions. Maybe he could turn that vision into something tangible, a call to action for others to see the importance of art in a community. Fueled by determination, Jamal decided to create a flyer to rally support for his art program. His hands shook as he wrote down a short message. "Help save our art program. Join me to create a mural at school." It was simple, but it could spark an idea in someone's mind. Perhaps the bikers could help. He remembered their stories of fights and triumphs, how they had inspired him. This could be a chance not just for funding, but for community engagement. With a few pounds of paper, a pack of markers, and his artistic flair, Jamal designed the flyer with vivid colors. Each stroke brought life to his message, but he still struggled with the fear of rejection. What if no one showed up? He envisioned the bikers, their encouragement echoing in his mind, reminding him of the support he could attract.
As the sun crested high in the sky, Jamal headed to the market, a determined stride in his step. He passed the usual crowd, but today his gaze was fixed ahead. Each step led him closer to the bikers, who he knew would fuel the fire in his heart. Maybe they could mentor him, guide him through this evolution. "Hey, you!" one of the bikers called out, waving as they noticed him. Jamal's heart raced. "Got any lemonade today?" Actually, he hesitated, heart pounding. He needed to be bold. "I want to ask for your help." Their expressions shifted from amusement to curiosity as Jamal explained his vision, how he wanted to create awareness about the art program through a community mural, harnessing everyone's talents, even the bikers. "Art can change a community," he said, his voice quaking, "and I need people who believe in that." They listened intently, the enthusiasm building as he spoke. The bikers exchanged glances, and a few nodded. "We could be a part of this," one of them declared, grinning. "Imagine what a mural could do." The energy shifted, igniting a spark of collaboration. Jamal felt the fear retreat as a sense of belonging took its place. For the first time, the skepticism of his classmates seemed far away. The bikers to bring in new faces and ideas, transforming the harsh reality of art funding into a movement that might extend beyond just his school. But he felt a familiar weight in his gut, a reminder of the hurdle still ahead. Would they be able to gather the necessary support, or was this another mirage of hope? Could he rely on people so different from him? As they discussed plans and possible supplies, the atmosphere turned electric with possibilities. Yet beneath the excitement, doubt dangled on the edges of his thoughts. What if he failed to unite them? The notion of standing alone against a tide of obstacles clawed at his confidence. Deep breaths. Jamal grappled with the uncertainty, but steered himself back to the moment, to the camaraderie blossoming around him. Unknown potential flickered like a flame, and he was ready to fan it into a blaze. Cool air brushed against him as they wrapped up, leaving promises buzzing in the air. Jamal stepped away from the market, buoyed by an odd mix of anxiety and exhilaration. This was his moment of truth emerging, a pathway carved from will and uncertainty. Still, as he returned home, his mind churned, a question lingering just out of reach. The calm before the storm hung in the balance, as he wondered, was this truly the beginning he'd hoped for, or would his dreams slip through his fingers once again? Jamal woke the next day with a fire in his belly, the doubts from yesterday melting away like ice in the sun. The meetings held at the market felt like a turning point. He had solicited help, but now he needed to cultivate that budding collaboration into real action. There was an uncharted territory awaiting him, and somehow he'd need to navigate through it.
He tapped his pencil against his desk while staring at the half-finished sketch. The mural stood there, speaking to him, urging him to define its details. This was not just a project anymore. It was a dialogue with his peers, with their varied perspectives. He needed to frame this conversation as the foundation for something greater, a bridge to connect diverse voices. With paper and sketches scattered around him, Jamal resolved to draft a detailed plan. He envisioned grouping artists by skill and interest, painters with different techniques, writers who could pen powerful pieces for the mural context, even music artists capable of delivering an emotional score during painting sessions. The bikers had sparked an idea within him, but it was up to him to crystallize it into something real. He penned his first meeting invitation. "Join us, brainstorming session for our mural project." The thought of gathering them all, of rallying the town's hidden talents, sent a shiver of excitement through him. Each word he wrote felt like a brick in the foundation of his artwork. Yet, as he prepared the documents and reached for the phone to make additional calls, a wave of doubt crested over him. What if his vision didn't resonate? What if they all laughed at him? The uncertainty drummed at his temple, heavy and burdensome. But he remembered the bikers' gleaming eyes, the simple line of belief that had sparked in their expressions. If they had faith in him, could he not hold faith in himself? With a deep breath, he picked up the phone and dialed one of the bikers, Marcus. "Hey, it's Jamal. I want to set up a gathering with everyone who's interested in contributing to the mural." "Sounds awesome," Marcus replied, enthusiasm dripping from his voice. "Count me in. What can I do to help?" Maybe bring your friends too. The more ideas, the better. Jamal's pulse quickened, each word grounding his resolve. Over the next couple of days, he reached out to peers and other bikers, a mix of anticipation and anxiety coiling inside him. As responses trickled back, each encouraging reply felt like a confirmation of his purpose. On the eve of the meeting, Jamal prepared himself mentally. Questions buzzed incessantly at the back of his mind. Would they all show up? Would they laugh? He pushed those fears back, reminding himself that this was about collective energy and the positive change they could create together. The night was electric. Jamal arrived at the park where they agreed to meet, glancing at the mural sketch in his hand. The sun had set behind him, shadows stretching against the ground as he set up a few chairs around a table. People began to filter in, bikers, friends from school, and even a few seniors he admired but had never dared to approach before. As they assembled, he heard snippets of conversations buzzing around him, voices mingling and laughing. With a gentle nudge of adrenaline, he realized he wasn't alone.
The fear he had felt was overshadowed by excitement. They all wanted what he wanted, the chance to contribute, to achieve something impactful. "Okay, everyone," Jamal said, his heart pounding as he stood to speak. "We're here because we believe in the power of art. Together, we can create something beautiful that reflects us all." The group fell silent, and he saw a flicker of understanding shine in their eyes. In that moment, Jamal unveiled the sketch. As the outlines of his vision took shape in the shared space lit by moonlight, something extraordinary began to pulse through the crowd. The realization that they were not just artists. They were a community. But as the atmosphere changed, Jamal felt a fleeting doubt resurface. Could he lead these diverse personalities toward the vision he held? Would they unite under one theme? The murmur of collective possibilities was thrilling, yet he still clung to uncertainty, grappling with the enormity of the task ahead. At that moment, he couldn't shake a lingering question from his thoughts. Was he truly capable of guiding such a diverse group toward a common goal? The weight of his ambition pressed heavily on him. Just then, a thought crystallized, brightening the depths of his worries. It was time to face his fears and embrace the unknown. The meeting had only just begun, and with it came a path fraught with challenges, collaboration, and possibly revelation. With the night still unfurling before him, Jamal took a breath, ready to embark on this unexpected journey. Would they come together under his guidance and turn his vision into a living masterpiece? The answer awaited him in the unfolding hours ahead. As the murmurs softened and the first few sparks of enthusiasm filled the air, Jamal could feel the collective energy coiling in the hollow of his chest like a tightly wound spring. He needed to channel that energy into a structure that would guide them all, turning scattered ideas into cohesive action. Fragments of doubt echoed in his mind, but he kept his focus. This moment was not just about him, but about fostering inspiration. "All right, let's start by sharing our ideas," he proposed, trying to steady his voice despite the rapid beat of his heart. "I want to hear what everyone envisions when they think of this mural." The first hand raised belonged to Lena, an art student with vivid tattoos spiraling across her arms. "I think we should use colors that reflect the diversity of our community. Each color can symbolize a different voice." Jamal nodded eagerly as she spoke, her enthusiasm pierced through his own reservations. Others chimed in. Malik suggested symbolizing local history, while Clara, a shy but passionate photographer, advocated for incorporating photographs within the mural to tell real stories. As they shared their ideas, Jamal became acutely aware of something transformative happening beyond the raw sketches and paint. The act of collaboration was unfolding and blooming right before him. Each voice added layers to the vision he had drawn, and with every contribution, he felt less like a solitary leader and more like a guiding force among equals. But then reality clawed back into his brain. This was early brainstorming. Inspiration was only half the battle. He needed to forge a plan that could synthesize their thoughts into action. The fear of disappointment whispered insidiously. What if their enthusiasm didn't translate into practical steps? "Let's break into smaller groups," Jamal suggested, trying to claim back the momentum. "We can each focus on a specific element of the mural." He assigned them roles. One group focused on color and design, another on historical context, and the third on integrating personal narratives. The murmured excitement reaffirmed his instincts. They were buzzing with purpose and potential. Yet, with all this collaboration came a surge of pressure. Who was he to orchestrate such a diverse set of talents? The worry eclipsed the joy. What if he failed to unify them? Jamal's mind raced as he moved to sit with the designers. "Let's focus on how we use our resources effectively," he said, flipping through papers filled with their spontaneous ideas. Midway through the discussion, his phone vibrated, a message from Marcus. "The bikers are ready to chip in too. How about we throw a mural paint-off? It could draw more eyes to the project." Jamal and the designers exchanged glances. This could attract not only interest but potential collaborators. "The idea is fantastic," he replied. Yet, should he say yes? This was a commitment, a leap of faith into deeper waters. Could he ensure that they would present the mural not just an artistic endeavor, but as a genuine reflection of their collaborative heart? The whirling possibilities ignited something deep in him, a flicker of belief that perhaps he was ready to lead after all, despite the fear. Trusting his instincts was an essential step in this remarkable journey that lay ahead. Just as the noise from the park began to crescendo, signaling the excitement spreading among all groups, Jamal felt an exhilarating charge surge through him. This wasn't merely about the mural, it was a chance to define what it meant to work together creatively. But was he truly prepared for the responsibility this project would demand from him? Each decision would carry weight. "Let's take a moment," he said, "to appreciate each other's contributions. This is just the beginning." And just like that, Jamal caught a glimpse of what it was to lead with purpose, to embrace vulnerability and open pathways for others to shine. They were all in this together, a conversation waiting to unfold. The night stretched ahead, filled with possibilities, yet he couldn't shake the intoxicating blend of excitement and dread. As his peers began to coalesce into tighter factions, Jamal felt the pressure build. Could his vision hold? Would they truly rally behind it? The clock was ticking, the paint wouldn't wait, and neither would the reactions of the community. In that moment of revelation, Jamal realized the time had come to confront not only his doubts, but his need for acceptance. The true test awaited him. Would he seize this chance and boldly pave the way for their voices to resonate through art? Or would he falter under pressure and fail to inspire? Jamal sat cross-legged on the grass, surrounded by sketches, colored markers, and the pulsing energy of his peers, a surreal scene that felt invigorating yet daunting. The flicker of creativity hovered around him like a fragile flame, one gust away from being extinguished by his own uncertainties. His heart raced as he stifled the impulse to withdraw, grappling with the responsibility that loomed larger than himself. He glanced at Lena, Malik, and Clara, deeply engaged in discussion, their faces illuminated by the dimming sunlight. This was their moment, their chance to intertwine their voices into something meaningful. Yet the shadow of self-doubt easily crept back in. Did he have the intellectual authority to guide such diverse talents? Was he equipped to steer the ship through turbulent creative waters, or would he end up lost at sea, dragging others down with him? As he breathed in, he could feel the crispness of the evening air, which grounded him, subtly erasing some of his fear. He resolved to channel the chaos swirling within him into clarity. It was crucial now to articulate a vision that not only inspired, but also provided a sturdy framework. "All right," he said, raising his voice above the chatter to capture their attention. "Let's discuss how we can bring our ideas together into something cohesive and impactful." The energy shifted. His peers leaned closer, their engagement palpable, and for a fleeting moment, Jamal felt the weight of leadership shift from his shoulders. He sketched an outline in the dirt, 2 columns, one for artistic elements, the other for logistics. "Let's list what we need to execute this," he said, his voice strengthened by a growing sense of purpose. "We'll separate our dreams from what we can practically achieve." As they brainstormed, Jamal witnessed a dynamic shift. The collaborative process felt like a dance, organized yet fluid, with each pair of hands contributing differently. Lena's artistic suggestions were getting polished by Malik's historical insights, while Clara ensured the personal narratives flow seamlessly into their communal vision. It was exhilarating to see whispers of hesitation transformed into resounding affirmations. However, as the night crept in, so did the reality of commitments.
The thought of the mural paint-off intended to gather more participants nagged at him, ticking in his mind like a time bomb. What if it failed? Would they be able to handle more people, more ideas? Jamal inhaled sharply, the question stinging deeper as doubts unfurled. What if he misjudged their capacity? What if, when push came to shove, the enthusiasm fizzled out, and he was left standing amidst unfinished work, a failure in their eyes? In that moment, he caught Clara's gaze piercing through him with an earnestness that flooded him with strength. "Jamal, we can bring people in. We've got this," she encouraged. That genuine validation tethered him to the present. Forcing the fears aside, he discarded the notion of failure. He needed to lean into the strength they had created together. "Let's commit to the paint-off," he declared, surprising even himself. "We'll need a team to handle logistics, making sure supply lines are smooth, and another group to publicize it. We want everyone to see what we can create as a unit." As they broke into discussions again, Jamal felt a quiet surge of confidence. This project was evolving beyond his expectations, and most importantly, it wasn't just his vision anymore. It had taken on a life of its own. But as the laughter and brainstorming continued, a new worry lurked in his mind. Would they truly embrace the vision he started, or would his leadership falter under a tide of conflicting ideas? The echoes of past failures crept back. Jamal focused, realizing this was the essence of growth. "Let's make a timeline to keep us all on track," he proposed, anchoring the moment with a sense of responsibility. Just as the dynamic peaked, a sudden thought pierced through. He realized that this project, this team, could be his greatest opportunity to learn. What if facing his fears head-on allowed him to transform in ways I never anticipated? Would he emerge not just as a leader, but as a creator capable of sharing powerful stories? Gathering his thoughts, Jamal was determined to face the unknown as he whispered to himself, "I can do this." But as he prepared to finalize the next steps, a message flashed on his phone, a reminder of a looming deadline that could shift everything in an instant. Was he ready for the world to see what they were about to create? The moment of truth loomed closer, and he would soon find out if he could hold the weight of his aspirations. The luminous glow of the sun dipped below the horizon, casting orange and pink hues across the open field as Jamal picked up his phone, the screen looming ominously with the notification. Deadline, he thought, each letter tinged with urgency. The phrase ricocheted around his mind, igniting fears he thought he had contained. He couldn't let the moment slip. Not now, not when the momentum was building. He forced himself to stay focused on the present, absorbing the blossoming energy around him, feeling the camaraderie intertwining with his self-imposed pressure.
"All right, time to break this down," he said, attempting to project confidence. "We need to map out our roles now. Everyone has unique strengths, and although there might be some confusion, we must channel that chaos productively." As he began assigning tasks, the evening air thickened, filled with the palpable adrenaline of creative pursuit. Lena was to lead the artistic direction, naturally framing emotions with her strokes, while Malik deftly positioned himself in charge of historical context, ensuring their narrative resonated deeply. Clara, managing communications, would ensure their enthusiasm reached beyond just their circle. Each assignment felt like a tiny victory, small but significant. Yet Jamal's heart tightened with every name he crossed off his mental list. He glanced at his colleagues, who now moved with purpose, infectious enthusiasm radiating from their discussions. But within him, doubts danced like shadows. What if Clara couldn't juggle the outreach alongside her other commitments? What if Malik's stories didn't align with Lena's creativity? Each scenario replayed in his mind, granting him a sense of impending doom, almost as if he was a marionette cut loose and unable to control the chaotic strings. "Focus, Jamal," he murmured under his breath, grounding himself in the vibrant energy surrounding him. The need for a solution to combat his growing anxiety was immediate. Drawing a deep breath, he initiated a round of check-ins on each person's confidence level and potential hurdles they anticipated. "Let's take a moment to voice any concerns," he proposed, emphasizing vulnerability. "If we can't address risks now, we risk failing later." To his surprise, when he listed the obstacles openly, the group responded with a rush of honesty. Malik expressed fear over his narrative feeling too restrained, while Lena voiced her concern about time management amidst her college workload. Clara's challenge was personal. Could she truly project the passion she felt inside if public expectations loomed too heavily? Their hesitations ignited a shift in Jamal. He recognized the power of honesty paired with vulnerability. It illuminated their shared journey. "What if we incorporate those fears into our art?" he suggested, his voice growing more animated by the minute. "Let's not shy away from what scares us. Instead, let's showcase that. Our uncertainties can become part of our story." He could see the light flicker in their eyes. The potential to reframe fear as part of their narrative sparked a new level of engagement. Ideas flowed more freely now, and the initial barriers turned fluid, altering Jamal's perception of their collaboration. Yet with curiosity swirling in Jamal's heart, he couldn't suppress the prickling anxiety about the approaching deadline. Would they pull off the paint-off despite the time crunch? And as he looked at their faces glowing with renewed determination, a thought rippled through him. Was their collective strength matching his own newfound resolve? "Let's keep each other accountable," he urged, sensing the urgency but also the need for mutual support. "We'll regroup in 2 days for final checks before we take this to the next level."
As they dispersed into the night, Jamal lingered a moment, contemplating both excitement and trepidation. Perhaps the very act of confronting their fears together would ultimately bind their stories into a singular masterpiece. The question remained, though, echoing as he walked home. Could he sustain this momentum? And as he reached for his notebook, ready to jot down new thoughts, a notification flashed again, a message from one of the event coordinators asking for the final proposal. Could he truly bring to life the visions sparked in a whirlwind of creativity and anxiety? As he stood on the brink of an opportunity, his heart stuttered in exhilaration and fear. Tomorrow would demand not only his courage, but also his unwavering commitment to uplift those who had rallied around him. Would he rise to the occasion, or would he fade once again into the shadows of self-doubt? With the deadline looming, Jamal felt that he was about to discover what he was truly capable of. The morning light sliced through Jamal's window, illuminating the clutter of his desk, a battleground of crumpled papers, half-envisioned sketches, and frantic notes. His mind raced, a cacophony of ideas and anxiety battling for dominance. Today, each moment would count. He rolled out of bed, determined to channel the fiery energy of the previous night's discussion into something tangible. After a quick breakfast, he pulled on his jacket, glancing in the mirror. Was he ready to tackle the world outside? He could feel a slow, creeping doubt testing his resolve. Steeling himself, he closed the door behind him and stepped out, inhaling the cool morning air as if it were his first breath of fresh ideas. As he arrived at the cafe where they would meet, Jamal noticed a few patrons writing in notebooks, each lost in their own worlds, similar to his own state. It stoked a flicker of inspiration. Everyone had their story, their hurdles, a reminder that he wasn't alone in this journey. When Malik, Lena, and Clara arrived, Jamal quickly sensed a change in the atmosphere. They greeted him with energy that seemed to invigorate his flagging spirits. "Let's lay it all on the table today," Jamal said, his voice firm. "This is our moment to sculpt something significant from our fears, not just a project." As plans and ideas flew around the table, Jamal took a step back to observe. The way Lena's face lit up when discussing color palettes was contagious. Malik's meticulous ideas on narrative depth unveiled in raw authenticity. Clara's vibrant enthusiasm for public engagement sparked connotations of potential yet unexplored. Ideas began to intertwine like threads in fabric, creating a tapestry laden with meaning and emotion.
Yet, amid their creativity, Jamal was increasingly aware of the shadow lurking in his mind, a fear of failure that whispered relentless reminders. What if they weren't good enough? What if the final presentation fell flat? But as he monitored their dynamic collaboration, he recognized a shift within himself. The more he engaged, the more he found comfort in collective vulnerability. During a brainstorming session, a quiet voice in him suggested, what if today truly represented not just the culmination of their efforts, but the essence of their individual journeys? I think we're all brimming with ideas, but let's take a moment to share our personal stake in this project, Jamal proposed, heart racing. What does this mean to each other on a deeper level? The question hung in the air, like a challenge, a call not just for surface creativity, but for authentic engagement with their collective hearts. Clara shared her trepidation about being seen, while Malik recounted how he had hesitated in the past, afraid to present his art. Lena's voice shook slightly when she opened up about the pressure she felt balancing academics with her creative ambitions. Each revelation tightened the bond among them. They weren't just teammates, they were storytellers, each holding a piece of the whole. Jamal could feel a part of him evolving. Let's conquer our fears together. Let's channel this energy into our art, he suggested excitedly. Let's make something that says we've all felt pushed to our limits, and it's okay. In that heated exchange of ideas, a fresh vision began to emerge. It wasn't just about meeting a deadline. It was about creating a wraparound narrative that conveyed shared journeys, transformative moments, and the myriad emotions woven into the fabric of their lives. As lunch edged closer and the crowd thinned, Jamal stood, overwhelmed yet exhilarated, and said, "Let's hug our fears even tighter and use that to full effect in our work. Each of us has faced something, and we're going to use that." As he looked around, a visceral wave of determination filled the air.
Articulating their vulnerabilities had lifted a crushing weight from their shoulders. They weren't just drowning in fear, they were buoyed by the very essence of their humanity. However, as they wrapped up their session, hidden under the veil of new confidence, Jamal felt anxieties bubbling once again. Would they sustain this connection? Was he capable of leading this team through to the end? The ticking clock loomed ominously in his mind, twisting his stomach with every second. Even with the artists around him, he feared the next deadline would become an insurmountable wall. With one final lingering thought before they parted, the certainty settled within him. Every act of vulnerability shared held power. What remained to be seen was whether he could carry that revelation into action when they faced the inevitable challenges ahead.
Would he summon sufficient courage to guide them once more into the depths of their creativity, or would self-doubt sever his resolve at the critical moment? As he rounded the corner toward home, determination in his step clashing with doubt in his heart, he pondered what powerful revelation awaited him next. The following morning greeted Jamal with a heavy blanket of clouds, a stark contrast to the clarity he had felt just 24 hours earlier. As he stared at the sketch on the desk, it seemed to mirror his own internal chaos, lines intersecting with no clear vision, each one an echo of his swirling thoughts. Despite the flourishing creativity from yesterday, a weight of uncertainty hung over him. Had their connection been merely temporary? He took a deep breath and pushed himself away from the desk. This was the moment to transform fear into fuel. After a quick breakfast, he decided to take a walk around the neighborhood. There was something invigorating about stepping outside, a reminder that the world pulsed with life. As he strolled, he watched people hustle about, each lost in their routines. The sight sparked a question in him. How many held dreams like his, simmering beneath the surface, waiting for the right spark to ignite? Arriving at a small park, he settled on a bench and pulled out his notebook. He began listing all the elements he hoped to weave into their project: vulnerability, connection, fear, triumph. But soon his pencil hesitated, trembling slightly against the paper. Would any of this resonate with others? Could he capture not only their individual struggles, but also the essence of communal resilience? The sound of laughter broke his concentration. A group of children played tag nearby, their giggles infectious. Jamal couldn't help but smile, sensing that unfettered joy was the purest form of creativity. It drew a sharp contrast to the anxiety that had threatened to paralyze him. Jamal's internal narrative shifted. Instead of focusing solely on his fears of inadequacy, he began to contemplate the beauty in collaboration, how the best stories often emerged from combining disparate experiences. Gradually, the flicker of doubt subsided, replaced by a focused resolve. He needed to revisit his role as a leader and as an artist. Could he communicate clearly with his teammates? Could he guide them through their uncertainties? Ideas flooded his mind, urging him to return to the cafe and gather them again, but this time not just for brainstorming. This meeting needed to be about real commitments. He quickly made his way back, his heart quickening with each step. He wanted to convey a sense of urgency, a need for shared accountability. Upon entering the cafe, he caught sight of Clara already sketching again at their usual table, her brow furrowed, deep in concentration, while Lena flipped nervously through magazines and Malik was reviewing notes on his phone. "Listen," Jamal said, pulling up a chair with a determined thud. "I want us to solidify our individual roles today. We shouldn't just be talking. We need to trust each other with our art, with our visions. Everyone here carries a weight, and it's time for us to turn that into something powerful." Their eyes flickered with both curiosity and caution. Jamal continued, "Before we dive into the visuals, I want us all to define what this project means for us. What does each of us bring to this table? Let's assign responsibilities grounded in our personal stakes. We need to hold each other accountable." Lena's face lit up at the prospect, while Malik looked thoughtfully pensive. Clara's eyes searched Jamal's, as if trying to piece together where this path might lead. A hush fell upon the table as they processed his words. But beneath his own resolve, Jamal felt the cold fingers of self-doubt creeping up again. What if they didn't connect with what he was suggesting? The burden of leadership weighed heavily on him, filling his chest with tightness. Would he truly be able to adapt to their strengths and weaknesses? "Let's make a pact," he blurted out, nervously shifting in his seat. "We agree to share openly, support each other, and also speak if something isn't working. No more hiding behind our fears." As he watched their nods of agreement, a flicker of hope ignited within him. This was the moment his transformation could begin, not just as a storyteller, but as someone who nurtured and motivated others. There, amidst their shared uncertainty, Jamal's vision began to crystallize.
Each idea he had felt like a step towards something greater, but a question lingered. Could he truly guide them through the storm of creativity that lay ahead? His doubt brewed, hiding in the corners of his mind, but Eureka was dawning on him. What if he could foster an environment where courage outweighed fear? As they prepared to define their roles, Jamal's pulse quickened with anticipation. Tomorrow would bring further challenges, but a new kind of doubt gnawed at him now. Could he really be a catalyst for transformation, not just for himself, but for everyone involved? The moment had arrived to confront not only how to collaborate, but why he was so afraid to fail his team. Would he uncover the strength to lead them through the gauntlet of creativity ahead, or would he falter just when they needed him most? As the sun rose the next morning, an invigorating splash of light broke through the lingering clouds, casting an ethereal glow over Jamal's workspace. The cafe bustled with life, and the hum of conversation seemed to fuel his resolve. Today, he wouldn't just be a participant, he would be the architect of their collective vision. His heart raced as he reviewed the notes from yesterday's meeting. The collective excitement in the air was palpable. Jamal picked up his sketch again, studying the lines he'd drawn with new clarity.
The chaotic intersections of his thoughts began to align, each stroke a potential pathway to the story he wished to tell. Each line seemed to pulse with renewed significance, a reflection of the transformations awaiting them in the challenge ahead. After sipping on a strong cup of coffee, he approached Clara, who was already busy sketching at their table. "Clara, can we talk about the visual direction? I think we need to find a way to represent our individual struggles while showcasing our unity," he suggested, aware that the dialogue had to be open to the team's input. Clara's eyes brightened. "I love that idea. What if we illustrate segments of our journeys in different styles, creating a tapestry of our experiences?" Her enthusiasm was contagious. Jamal felt a flicker of excitement within himself. Maybe this was the moment he would not only lead, but also inspire creativity in others. They spent the next hour bouncing ideas off each other, blending their unique artistic visions into a coherent narrative thread. Clara's designs breathed life into his concepts, and his words infused her images with purpose. Next, he turned to Malik and Lena, encouraging them to share their viewpoints. "How can we reinforce the themes of vulnerability and triumph visually?" he probed, hoping they would take ownership of their contributions. To his delight, Malik shared insights from his background in photography, suggesting a mixture of candid moments captured in raw emotion. Lena, inspired by their fervor, wanted to incorporate poetry, tying together the visual elements with poignancy. As they expanded their discussion, Jamal felt an edge of fear resurface, yet he recognized it as a familiar companion, one that nudged him toward progress rather than holding him back. Instead of shying away, he leaned into it, asking, "Are we pushing ourselves far enough? How about we take some risks with our roles? What fears are we holding that might prevent us from exploring the depth of our creativity?" His question hung heavy in the air, and for a moment the table went silent. Faces turned serious as they reflected. It was Lena who finally spoke up, her voice trembling slightly. "I've always felt hesitant to blend my poems into visual presentations. What if they fall flat?" Jamal recognized her vulnerability echoed his own. "That feeling of inadequacy is what makes us human, Lena. It's those raw moments that connect us to others on a deeper level. Together, we can uplift each other when those doubts creep in," he encouraged, wanting to reinforce the pact they had made. Gathered there, they formed a mosaic of shared aspirations, uncertainties, and dreams. Jamal revealed trust building, each pulse of camaraderie invigorating his spirit. Encouraged, he suggested they create a shared blog where they could document their process, celebrate small victories, and reflect on challenges.
Just as they began sketching out ideas for their online platform, the cafe doors swung open and a group of bikers entered, their leather jackets glistening under the overhead lights. Jamal could feel a sudden rush of adrenaline. A striking contrast to the artistic ambiance of the cafe, their presence felt powerful yet daunting. "Let's take a break," Jamal proposed, uncertain but sensing a shift in energy. "We should see what they're up to." As they approached, a feeling of inertia halted him. His inner conflict flared. This was an opportunity to break new ground, but what could they learn from a group so seemingly different from their creative circle? Facing their fears of divergence might just yield unexpected alliances. That moment teetered on the brink of transformation. What insights could the bikers offer, and how might their contributions challenge or elevate their vision? Jamal took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever unfolded next, but would he have the courage to forge that connection? Jamal stood at the edge of a new chapter, profoundly aware that the challenges they faced had shaped not only the mural, but his own transformation. The vibrant energy of the cafe pulsed as he watched the bikers mingle around his friends,
a tapestry of personalities entwining in what felt like destiny. This was the moment he had waited for, the moment to break free from the limitations that had constrained him. As he drew closer, Jamal felt the adrenaline rush through him. This was a crossroads of their paths. "Hey guys," Jamal called, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions bubbling inside. "We're working on a community mural. We'd love your input." Marcus, one of the bikers, turned, his presence commanding yet approachable. "Art? Now that's individual expression," he exclaimed, his voice a deep rumble. The bikers gathered around, intrigued. Jamal felt a surge of confidence wash over him. This blend of worlds sparked the realization that collaboration transcended boundaries. One by one, his friends introduced their ideas, each so different yet so connected through shared emotion. Lena's vibrant colors, Malik's unique storytelling, Clara's poetic elements, they all intertwined seamlessly, each layer adding depth to the concept. The bikers listened, their smiles widening as their shared enthusiasm filled the room. "What if we weave some of your stories into the mural?" Jamal suggested boldly. The bikers exchanged glances, surprised by the proposal, but intrigued by the genuine sincerity in Jamal's eyes. "Art can tell tales," Marcus replied, nodding slowly. "Stories of struggle, of triumph? Yeah, we've got plenty." Moments later, they began sharing experiences. The bikers spoke candidly about their own journeys of resilience, tales of overcoming obstacles, fights for belonging. Jamal absorbed their narratives like a sponge, awash in inspiration.
Each story resonated deeply within him, reinforcing the importance of their mural as a collective voice, one that boldly expressed not only his own dreams, but those of others too. With renewed energy, Jamal gathered his friends. "Together, we can create an artwork that embodies all our stories, the artists, the bikers, and the community." The transformation that had begun months ago surged through him now. It was in this moment, surrounded by fervent collaboration, that he realized a profound truth: vulnerability held the key to unity. As they mapped the mural out under the soft cafe glow, Jamal assigned tasks. He saw himself slipping into the role of a true leader, a source of motivation for others. Each commitment made to embrace fear and raw honesty transformed the collective endeavor. They were not just painting, they were sculpting a movement. Days turned to weeks as preparations unfurled, each moment infused with growth and purpose. Jamal had not only refined his artistic vision, but also solidified his ability to unite and empower others. They had selected a day for the mural unveil, generating excitement throughout the community. Time seemed to speed as the paint-off day approached, each moment filled with anticipation. Jamal walked into the bustling park on that sunny morning, flanked by the glimmering mural backdrop, now alive with color. Together, they painted their fears, triumphs, and stories into the mural surface. As he dipped his brush in vibrant paint, Jamal reflected on his journey. The boy who had once felt like an outcast was now a resilient leader, recognized for his capabilities. Each stroke resonated with deep satisfaction, binding everyone together as they moved in harmony to create something far beyond just a visual piece. When the moment came for the community to unveil the mural, Jamal stood at the forefront, surrounded by friends and the bikers who had become his allies. People marveled at the artwork, each segment a narrative, the swirl of colors reflecting struggles faced yet held with pride. A sense of accomplishment washed over him. Jamal had not only transformed a $15 dream into a community masterpiece, but had forged connections that would last a lifetime. He demonstrated that his vulnerabilities fueled his resilience, paving the way for trust, understanding, and creativity. This was a victory earned. As applause rang in his ears, Jamal reveled in recognition. The fear that had plagued him melted away, replaced by solid confidence. He had stepped into a role of competence that inspired others to act. In that moment, he felt the culmination of his journey. A boy from a small town thriving as a young man of vision, receiving acknowledgement from peers and mentors alike. His heart swelled with pride, a testament to what he had achieved. Art had not just saved a program, it had transformed lives, including his. This is your moment to transform too.
Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories about personal breakthroughs. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a difference. Comment below with your reactions and theories about this amazing conclusion. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how courage and collaboration can transform despair into triumph. Don't wait even one more second. Your support matters to us.